All right, my apologies. I forgot to start recording the session. We're just kind of going over a general introduction to the Arise project before we move on to some of the new updates. And kind of lastly, one of our big goals is to really make some of these advanced topics engaging, but also very accessible to a broad audience to make sure we can kind of break down some of those barriers that might limit access in other scenarios. So I just want to take a moment to introduce a few of the tools that we kind of base a lot of the Arise curriculum around. The first one I'll mention is the software called GNU Radio. This is a very easy to use platform for doing signal processing. It gives students a very user-friendly, easy to approach way to work hands-on with how do we take signals, process them, extract information from them. So in this example I'm showing here, we just have a simple flow graph in GNU Radio that takes in reads in a file. This is a recording of a pulsar, and we do a little bit of processing on it, and then we can actually visualize and sonify that pulsar signal. And we have labs where students can build this system themselves in just a few minutes. So it really gives students that hands-on experience with how do professionals actually work with signal processing, but making it a very approachable and hands-on way to interact with that. And this is very flexible. GNU Radio can allow you to do a lot of things, everything from running simulations in order to demonstrate some core topics you might want to introduce, all the way to reading in data files like was shown here, or actually, as we'll explore a little bit more, actually streaming in real real data from instrumentation like the Allen Telescope Array. So we'll explore that more in just a few minutes. One of the other things we use quite a lot are these software-defined radios. These are small little devices that you can plug into a USB port on your computer, connect it to an antenna, and these essentially just turn you or your students' laptops into a real-time radio receiver, which allows you to do a lot of very cool things. Everything from basic demonstrations of how radio waves work, like clicking your car key and seeing the signal popping up there, all the way to detecting AM and FM radio, all the way to more advanced topics like actually receiving some images from satellites. So this is a very good tool for giving students that kind of hands-on experience with how radio technology is used in our everyday lives. And as I'll mention before, if you want to use a lab that incorporates software-defined radios, we can provide those to your class. And the last one I'll mention is the Allen Telescope Array. This is the instrument that Vishal and I work quite a bit on. So the Allen Telescope Array is located out here in Northern California in this radio quiet zone. It is a radio observatory that's made up of 42 separate 20-foot radio telescopes that are all linked together as an interferometer. And we at the SETI Institute kind of fully own and operate this instrument, so we can kind of decide, how the observing time is spent. And one of the things we've done is actually taken one of the telescopes off of the main observing backend and reserved it for purposes like this, where we can actually give access to the telescope to you and your students, which is very nice. Now, normally, if you're kind of running radio observations in a scientific manner, a lot of these systems require a lot of training and a lot of prior experience. But we really wanted to open up this instrumentation to a very broad audience, to students that have never, have had technical training in how to work with these signals. So what we've done is develop these very simple user interfaces that allow students to actually control the telescope themselves in real time with no prior training required. And there are separate versions of these interfaces for each lab that perform the functions of the lab in a very easy to use manner. So, during a lab, if you want to incorporate one of these, we can actually give your students access to the control system. They can move the telescope, um, and they can, record data in real time as part of one of these lab exercises. I'll mention very briefly, we also host instructor workshops. We also want this, to be an investment in the instructors that we're working with and provide um, some building opportunities with all of you. So we've hosted two in-person workshops at the Allen Telescope Array so far in May of 24, and then just a few months ago in June of this year. And we're going to be planning a new in-person workshop, hopefully in early 2026. We also, again, we want to make sure that that resources aren't a barrier to access for all these systems, and so we will fully support our selected participants. We'll fund their travel and accommodation while you can stay on site here at the Allen Telescope Array for a couple of days. And this is a really good chance to not only, kind of give the instructors training on how to use the ARISE materials, how to operate telescopes. We can also have a lot of collaboration between instructors, but it's also a great chance for us to give feedback on the materials to see how people might best implement these into their courses. And this will be kind of a common theme, is that we really want this to work, this curriculum to work as best as it can for you as instructors. So we're constantly going back and refining the curriculum based off of instructor input to make sure that these resources are as effective as they can be. And we're also hosting these monthly virtual workshops, like the one you're at. It's just a chance for us to give project updates, introduce new people to the curriculum, and provide a space for instructors to ask questions and collaborate with each other as well. So kind of building on that, we also have funding as part of this project to actually travel to your campus and to teach with you if you so choose. And this is all completely funded by us at no cost to you. So we can fly out to your campus and co-teach some of our ARISE labs with you. In fact, I've quite a busy schedule over the next month or two at quite a few different colleges around the country. And again, everything that we provide here is completely free and open access for anyone that wants to use it. So all of the curriculum and tools that we develop are free. You get free access to the telescope, free access to all of the data, including the live data and any archived data that we have. We'll provide you access to that for free. Any lab equipment that is required for any of the labs, we have funding to provide that to you for free, and you can actually keep it if you want to, run one of these labs in your classroom. And of course, this is a very general curriculum that's meant to be adopted at a wide range of institutions, and every single classroom and every instructor has different needs and goals. And so we want to make sure that our materials are as flexible as possible. And so we have this option for instructors to work with us to edit any of the content to make sure that it fits those very unique needs and goals of your particular classroom. And so we'll work with you to make sure that this is as effective as it can be. So now for one of the new updates, we have recently deployed a new server at the Allen Telescope Array that makes live data publicly available to you and your students. So you may have seen in the chat we were talking about earlier, I shared one of these flow graphs. So if you have GNU Radio installed and you open one of those, that GNU Radio flow graph that I shared with you earlier, you should be able to run that and start pulling in real data from the telescope right now. So if any of, if we worked with you before, the way that we handled this before is, one of the members of the Arise team had to have, um, special security configurations enabled. And so we could pull in data into our own computers, but it was kind of restricted for students. But we really wanted to open up access to the instrument for anyone that wants to use this in a classroom. So using this new system, you and your students in a lab session can pull in real-time data from the instrument without, with very minimal setup. So you can really engage your students with conducting their own live observations and data acquisitions, in the just in the time of your lab. So this is a good project. We've been working on this for almost a year now to get this working, but we're happy to be able to provide this. Maybe we can see if anyone's can get the data streaming working successfully at the end. And the second kind of update from us is that we have just released a new lab. This is up on the website now, called Decoding Earth Signals from Geostationary Orbit. So I wanted to take a few moments to kind of go into some of the details of this new lab. So this is a very unique lab. Like I mentioned before, this entire curriculum is rather interdisciplinary, and this lab is a good example. Um, so students in this lab can use a small satellite dish and point it at a geostationary weather satellite, and they can actually detect the real-time transmissions coming from that satellite and decode it into real-time images of Earth from space. This is a really good opportunity to teach the fundamentals of gravity and orbits, all the way through radio communications. How do we use radio waves to encode and transmit information? Remote sensing, how do we use these satellites to study Earth from afar? Signal processing, how do we actually take that signal and turn it into usable information? And then we kind of connect all of these topics with the search for biosignatures and technosignatures. So those are signs of biology and signs of technology that we look for as SETI researchers. So we have quite a few learning objectives here. So students can work very hands-on with a real radio dish and software-defined radios. They can understand the fundamentals of orbits, how geostationary orbits are enabled, kind of going into some of the details there. And then again, how do we use radio waves to transmit information that's used in our everyday lives? And then connecting this with some of these topics in SETI, like biosignatures and technosignatures, and how we kind of incorporate these things as SETI researchers. So starting off in the lab, we look more detailed at geostationary orbits. So geostationary satellites are these satellites that remain fixed in the sky when you view them from Earth. So they always stay above the same place on Earth at all times. So this is really just requires that you have the orbital period of the satellite match the rotation of the Earth. So your orbital period for your satellite matches the sidereal day for Earth. If you have a circular orbit and you orbit above the equator, then you have a geostationary satellite. This is very useful for us because these satellites can view almost half of Earth at any given time, and they remain stationary in the sky, so it makes it easy to point a satellite dish at one of these and actually receive it without having to track the satellite at all. And so in order to understand geostationary satellite orbits a little bit more, students can actually calculate some of the properties of geostationary orbits just using Kepler's laws, just to kind of as an introduction to this lab. So we use these small, about 1 meter radio dishes that's specifically designed for receiving the signals from these satellites. So there's a small dish that kind of focuses and collects and focuses that signal onto a feed, which will turn those radio waves into an electrical signal. We then boost that electrical signal with a low noise amplifier and send it onto a cable onto a software-defined radio, which you can plug into your computer and allows you to do the rest of the processing locally on your own computer. We use this free and open source satellite decoding software called SatDump, which your students can set up on their own computers in just a few minutes. And this is a very easy way to engage with signal processing, because a lot of these a lot of the error correction, image generation, this is all kind of done automatically within the software. So it makes it pretty easy for students to work with. And one of the nice things is the software already has a preset processing pipeline exactly for these satellites that we want to look at. So students can configure this on their own computers in just a few moments, plug this into the hardware setup, and very quickly start to pull in real-time information from the satellite. And what you get out of the end of this process is some very beautiful satellite imagery. This is just a couple of examples from a satellite called GOES-18, which is kind of hovering over the Pacific Ocean. So this is the kind of data product that you can expect if you have this lab setup. You'll receive many different types of spectral bands. Every 20 or 30 minutes or so, you'll get an entire new suite of images. So you can do anything from false color that looks more or less like it would look to your eye if you were in space, all the way to kind of mapping the infrared, mapping the water vapor. And so we can use all of these images to study the dynamics of our home planet here. So not only can we work with those images that students are creating in real time from their own from that lab setup, but we can also work with some longer term monitoring projects that combine satellite data across the entire globe. So we can have students working with these interactive satellite visualizations that show how Earth changes over the course of many years. We can use this to kind of show in the data, how can we tell from orbit that there's biological activity on this planet? What are some of the clues that, looking at our planet from afar, what are some of the clues that our planet hosts life? So we can look at things like the cycles of vegetation changing throughout the seasons, and a couple of other concepts, and then connect a lot of these concepts to how we are searching for life in the universe in other worlds. We can also incorporate this idea of technosignatures, which is another thing that SETI researchers work on quite a bit. We can look at satellite imagery at night and actually detect city lights across the planet, which is a clear indicator of technologically advanced life here on Earth that we can detect from thousands of kilometers away. We can also look at more close-up images of the surface of Earth to unveil these unnatural kind of agricultural patterns that show up, which is another example of a technosignature. It's another sign that there is an intelligent, technologically advanced civilization here on Earth. And we can really kind of turn this question around and say, well, if an alien astronomer was looking at these images, would they be able to tell that there is technologically advanced life here? And how can we turn that process around to actually address whether other planets in the universe may have either biology or technologically advanced life on them? So this is, I think, a good lab for a number of reasons. It really builds practical skills for students they get to actually operate a radio dish, real hardware, and working with a software-defined radio. They get to do some signal processing, working with software to actually decode that the real-time satellite information, but it also provides kind of some insights into, how do we study Earth from afar? How can we use radio waves to transmit and encode information? How can we use satellites like this to study Earth's weather and climate and look at, how Earth's biosphere changes over time? And how does remote sensing really, directly connect to astronomy and to specifically the search for life in the universe? And then we kind of build that all together to build these astrobiology connections. So kind of using Earth as an example to build some intuitions for the things that we might want to look for on distant worlds if we're looking for life. So we have about 20 minutes left. I'll just kind of end our updates there. I'll just mention, maybe I'll get this out of the way so you guys can scan this if you want. All of our materials are available on our website, arise.seti.org, which you can get at just by scanning that QR code there. Also on that website, we have a link to join our mailing list and our Slack channel. Feel free to go over there and join. And then there's my email and Vishal's email as well. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to get involved. So from there, I will kind of open it up to all of you if you have any questions, and you can go from there.
Yes, I have a quick question. So for that instructor workshop you listed for early 2026, where do they go to apply and what's the application deadline date for that one?
So we have not announced the date for the workshop yet. Once we do that, once we decide on a good date, we will put information on the homepage of our website, and we'll send out another notification on our email list and our Slack channel and other channels. So we'll let you know when we make a decision about when exactly that'll be, and then we'll share the application process with you then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. There any other questions?
Well, this is Kevin. I'm curious if there's anything that we can do in the way of, for lack of better words, fast tracking or catching up on getting things organized to set up. Actually, what I'd like to create is a mobile lab. And so curious, and I would take it to students that do like outdoor education and those types of organized events. And so I'm curious if you might have anything yourself or at the SETI location in Mountain View, or anything that I could do to kind of get caught up in the way of hardware and setup and the wherewithal.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you, Kevin. I think a good place to start is looking at the Arise website. We have close to 15 different modules and labs posted on there now. It covers a wide variety of different topics, from signal processing, basic astronomy, to things like this, like radio communication. So I would go on there, take a look, and see if there's anything that looks like it's especially relevant towards the communities that you want to engage with. If you have any further questions, feel free to email us, and we can be happy to provide you some other resources if you're interested.
Okay.
So hi Kevin, this is Vishal.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit more about sort of this mobile lab that you mentioned? I mean, I'm not familiar with that. Like, what exactly are you thinking there?
Well, I hear a little bit of the hardware setup with a dish. It sounds like obviously a computer. You need to have space. Basically, convert a camper shell or a trailer into something that might become a mobile lab for monitoring.
I see. Well, it depends on what exactly the lab that you want to conduct. Like, for most of the stuff that we have on our website, you don't necessarily need a lot of hardware. Typically, you need like an RTL SDR dongles, which are like pretty tiny. And then you need like a simple like a dipole antenna, which comes with the part of the kit. So yeah, I think, and that should be sufficient for most of the things that you can do with the stuff that we have on the website. There are things that you can do with the telescope directly with one of the ATA antenna, which you obviously can log in remotely and access the data, as Joel talked about today. If just only for 1 or 2 labs that we put together, which very recently, where you need some specialized hardware, like you need the satellite dish, for example, for geosynchronous orbit. I mean, catching the signal from one of the geo satellites for making the image of the Earth. But other than that, for most of the stuff, we don't necessarily need a lot of hardware.
Well, shoot, thanks. That's fast tracking right there.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you want to do a version of this geostationary satellite lab as well, like we're doing with Daryl in Illinois, we have a couple of these setups that we're going to be kind of bringing between different locations over the course of a few days. So you can kind of break this the hardware down and transport it fairly easily, and then you can set it up again in 5 minutes or so. So you
Well,
can
there's
should
another
be fairly
event.
easy.
I'm part of the Mount Diablo Astronomical Society with the Night Sky Network, and I'm in charge of coordinating, or I help coordinate the stargazing night in Yosemite, Glacier Point, each summer. And so we did have some observation. There was a little bit of disappointment this year because even though it was only a mid-lit moon, it was very, very bright. And so there was a little disappointment as far as optics go. So to possibly bring up a mobile lab and tie into the satellites or tie into, the Allen array, then that might be something that adds a little bit more benefit and some efficiency to stargazing night in Yosemite. So
Yeah,
that's
that
what.
sounds like a great option. I always think it's a good idea to build a little bit of radio astronomy into a lot of these star parties and things like that. And this is a great example of that, bring a simple dish out there and you can be, producing real-time images of Earth from geostationary orbit in just a few minutes.
It makes sense. It's more efficient, better value, I think.
So Kevin, do you have like reservations to kind of camp out at night in over there? Usually pretty hard to get those, right?
They are, but we have a long-standing, I guess, history of doing that with Yosemite.
Nice.
The challenge is when when a ranger retires or moves on somewhere else and the new ranger comes in, then it's kind of work fast to reconnect the relationship.
Right, right. I mean, I would love the opportunity to join you guys sometime and basically do these things directly, if that's useful.
No,
Maybe
that's
next summer.
absolutely, that would
Yeah.
be great. We had about a dozen different classes of telescopes, and people were looking at a variety of different things. So visitors could walk around and hit, 6, 7, or 8. You always have someone with a telescope saying, "Dang it, I can't get it to work," and so they're playing with it the whole night. But it's a good time.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin. Is there any other questions from either of you? I think we're good. Yeah, so like I said, feel free to visit our website that I put up before. It's at www.arise.seti.org. We have everything publicly available there and completely free and open access. So feel free to go take a look, see if anything there is of particular interest. And then, feel free to reach out to Vishal or I if you have any questions. And we'll be happy to kind of work with you to explore some options.
Thank you.
Robert. All right, thank you all very much for joining. Hopefully we will hear from you soon, and we will put out more information when we have some more updates. So until then, we'll We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you
a
all very
great day.
much. Thank you.